Well, welcome everybody. Tuesday morning, and we are here for a webinar on 5 ways to make content creation easier. We are live streaming on YouTube, so you can always catch the replay there on YouTube as well. And of course, just don't hesitate to send me a message on LinkedIn, Carol Clegg, or DM me on Instagram, Carol Clegg Coach, and I would be more than happy to share the replay with you. So who else loves a webinar? It's time that you can put on lipstick and wear earrings. Now, my earrings you can't see because I've got these huge, big headsets on, but I must admit that I don't find much point in wearing earrings when I go out because my mask always hooks into them. So it doesn't make that easy. But let's start off today. And I know that we all have so much on our plates, and creating content can sometimes end up on the back channel, that we don't give it the attention that it deserves. So I know that showing up consistently can just be a little bit overwhelming, and before you know it, the week has slipped by and you rush to put up something, you put up anything, you repost something, but you haven't necessarily specifically focused on who, why, what, and what you're doing. So I would love to share some of the ways that I find help me show up and be consistent and have a plan. For over a decade, I have been managing social media content, accounts, and marketing for a variety of clients. But coincidentally, at the moment, my current clients are mainly travel related. And for those of you who know me, that is a perfect fit, because not only do I love to travel and plan retreats in Lisbon for my mastermind group and for the women that are in my coaching program, but I love planning my own travel adventures and even those of everybody else in our family. I know that my daughter is planning to go to Iceland with her boyfriend, hopefully in March. And I love the fact that they've included me on their Google planning spreadsheet and checking in with me on tips and ideas. But I'm trying not to interfere too much and allow them the joy of planning and moving ahead with that. So as I mentioned, one of the companies that I work with, being a travel company, their market is in the Caribbean and they provide aviation services. And this certainly holds a special place in my heart working for them, as I lived and worked in the British Virgin Islands with my husband. We lived in the Caribbean for many years aboard our sailboat, raising our children. And I do understand the challenges of getting from island to island. So it is so much fun working with this company. And this season, interestingly enough, has been their busiest. So lovely to be part of that. But along with managing, promoting, and working either for others or just working on other parts of your business, sometimes your social media and marketing, it gets challenging to find the time. Is that you? Do you feel that showing up consistently can be a little bit of a challenge? Well, I do have some slides that I want to share with you today, and those are going to include what we're going to talk about way up front. I wanted to offer you value in this webinar and not overwhelm. So that is part of the reason that we are only here for 30 minutes and the replay will be available. So I am just going to switch over and see if I can get my slideshow to be working the way it needs to. And let's have a look. We're going to come across to share my screen. So here we go. And of course, I wanted to make sure, so let me go back. I tested this all prior to the webinar and then discovered that I had bent something in my microphone and it wasn't working. So I want to be sure that we have this up and running correctly and that you are able to see my screen. So we're here, 5 ways to make content creation easier. And I know that there is always a slight delay in the slides as we move through them. So I want to be mindful of that and share with you what we're going to cover today. So we are going to include why. Why are you creating content? Who are you creating it for? Start with a planning strategy. Needing a planning strategy is going to take off so much of the stress and the tension and the floundering and the reposting what you perhaps don't want to be doing. Grabbing some tools to make your life easier. Your posting, what's going into that, remembering a call to action, and then engagement. And engagement is part of the reason why we are showing up here on social. So let's start with the why. Why are you creating content and who are you creating it for? For most of us, we're creating content to connect with our community and to build that know, like, and trust factor and offer value. And building the know, like, and trust factor takes time. But this in turn, as you show up consistently, leads to building awareness of your products and your services. It takes time and one needs to give it time. It's not an overnight success. So it's not just the numbers that we're after. It's an invested community that wants to hear from you. So give them a reason to stay. Build those relationships, conversations, offering value, and allow people to discover if you are the right person that they want to work with. There's so many people in the world, and there's so many people that are doing perhaps the same thing as you, and that's okay. There is more than enough space for everybody to be able to offer. So let's start with your why, and that will include breaking up your content into these 3 buckets. Those buckets would include inspire, educate, and promote. And I wanted you just to be sure that you do look at not only a promotion. Sorry, Rose, I am just going to mute you. There we go, because I could just hear a little bit of background sound, and welcome. Lovely to have you here and joining us. So we're working on the why and breaking up what you're creating into these 3 different buckets of inspire, educate, and promote. And inspiration can come from many things. It can come from, sharing a quote that's inspired you, sharing a good book that you're reading that you're enjoying, sharing somewhere that you've traveled to that was an inspiration. Educating, you are sharing sometimes some of your products, but you're sharing little snippets and the behind the scenes and giving people more reason to know more about you. And then promote is obviously sharing our products and our services, but we want to be going a little easy on those and making sure that we are building step by step our community. But the next step would be planning. And my recommendation is to set some time aside to do that planning. Perhaps it's an hour that you can set aside, be it a Monday or a Tuesday. I love Mondays. There was a poll the other day, somewhere, I think it was on LinkedIn, asking, are you a Monday or a Friday type of person? But I want to encourage you to set aside an hour, decide what you're planning on, and decide what your focus is for the upcoming week. So you could block time out on your calendar. Maybe you need 2 hours. Maybe you want to move yourself out of your home office and go somewhere else. Could be to a coffee shop to get a little inspiration, maybe a co-working space. But block time on your calendar to do just this. It's to plan. So we've started with blocking the time. Now we want to think about, what are you posting? So if you are only focusing a week ahead, you could focus 2 weeks ahead. It could be for the whole month. Include your promotions, your launches, and then the buckets that we spoke about, education and inspire. And then where are you posting? Trying to show up on all the social media platforms is just, it's the start to overwhelm. So my recommendation is just to pick 2 that you can stick with. Stick with them for a couple of months. Just give this a chance to grow. Look where you're getting action. Look where you're having conversations. Where are you building your community? You can, of course, always repurpose this content on other platforms. If you're showing up, for argument's sake, on Pinterest and you have a blog post, and you can use that on Twitter, but you don't have to show up on all the platforms all the time. So simplify the tools that you will use to plan. Think about, and we'll get into that next, what tools will work for you. And I also recommend to keep all your links to your social media accounts, all your giveaways, your email signups, your affiliate links. So that's everything of how somebody could work with you. Keep those all in one place so that it makes it really easy for you to find. And you could add that to a Google Sheet, and you could then have one place to go to that you can find all your links, that you can grab them when you need to use them. So moving on to tools. So using tools for scheduling, and I'm going to share a little bit more on the one that I love, but you can schedule your posts on Facebook Business Manager. That'll put you on your Instagram and Facebook at the same time. Planoly, I love Planoly for Instagram. You can even do that directly from Canva while you're creating your images. But I love Buffer. I've been using Buffer for over a decade, both for my clients and for myself. And the beauty of having the Buffer extension when you're wanting to educate and share articles is just such a helpful tool. You want to have planning tools that when you're in that early stage and you're planning out the week or you're planning out the month, and that could be something as simple as your calendar. Maybe you use a spreadsheet. I like to use Trello, and I know that there are lots of project management tools that people like. Asana is another one, but Trello has been my go-to, and I do recommend sticking, once you've explored, find a tool that works for you, and then give it time. Give yourself time to learn the ins and outs of that tool, as opposed to jumping around and hopping and skipping and then learning a little bit of each new one and then giving up on all of them. So another planning tool that has worked for me is Airtable. It helps you to take a bird's eye view of all your categories. And my other recommendation on tools is to use free where you can. So you don't have to, when you're starting out a new business, jump into the paid version of everything. So images, creating your images in Canva. It's such an easy place to do that. You can change them up as you need to, change up your copy. But my recommendation when you are creating your images in Canva is to save them in specific folders so that you can find them again. Because there is nothing worse than creating all this wonderful content and then you're searching all over your computer. Where did I file that? Where did I find this? So if you use Dropbox, I recommend having folders with names on that are easily recognizable at a glance, and having folders with inside folders. So just being able to find your images right when you want them is perfect. And coming back to Airtable, that is when I plan out my content, I actually put my image in there so that I remember what it's called and which one I am using. While we're on the topic of folders, one thing I recommend you do is spend a day spring cleaning and archive 2021's content, especially if you've rebranded, changed some colors, changed some dates, and move those all into an archive folder, title it whatever you want, something 2021, and get those out of the way so that you are cleaning up both your Dropbox and your Google folders to make things easy to find. Now, another tool that I love is swap files or creating copy, and I use my Google Drive for that, for each of the clients and for myself. And giving yourself time to think about your copy, writing it out, adding your call to actions, and just having something readily accessible. And you might have 5 or 6 paragraphs or copy that you can then at least have a starting point and then expand or add to that. In that swipe file, I keep my hashtags and just everything else that you might need so that you can copy and paste and then move those around as you wish. So resources for articles, I use something called the Old Reader, and I will show that to you at the end of this webinar. But I can group blog posts into categories, skim through the content, open directly to the article, and then share via my Buffer extension. And the Buffer extension is available, I believe, in all Chrome, Safari. So it really makes things so much easier to have a resource that's easy to get to. So I mentioned the Buffer extension. That is, I love that, because even if you're in Twitter, you can rebuffer and repost. So it just certainly saves you time and allows you to share other people's content. At the moment, with a paid account, I am paying $15 for a paid account, and that gives me 10 accounts that I can attach. So the 10 accounts include, I can do my LinkedIn, my own profile, I can do LinkedIn, my page, I can have Pinterest on there, I can have Twitter on there, Facebook pages. So it certainly allows you to decide on which accounts you wish to connect and to use that. And the beauty is you do not have to post at the same time on each account. So each account will allow you to schedule if you wanted to come out 3 times a week on Twitter, and well, Twitter should be more daily, but let's just say Instagram, you were only going to do 3 times a week. You can put all those time blocks ahead of time. And when you find an article and you add it to the queue, it will automatically fall into those time slots. But of course, if you find something that's of interest and you want to share that immediately, you have that option to share immediately, reschedule at different time zones. So there's an incredible amount of flexibility with Buffer. The other thing that you can do is you can go back and repurpose your posts in Buffer. So that allows you to something that you might have posted 3 weeks ago, but it's evergreen content and you want to share that again, and it's still alive and a call to action. You can go ahead and do that with the scheduling in Buffer. So I know there's a lot going on here. I just wanted to quickly touch on Trello, as that is another one of my tools that I like to use in my business for project management. So you can use Trello, and it's free, solo or with a team. You can add team members to different boards, and your boards have lists and cards. And I would be more than happy to share more about that with you. I do have my webinar that I did last month was on Trello. So you are welcome to reach out and I can share that link with you. It also helps to put a due date on your cards, because that just helps remind you when something is due. And so you can use that for your content. If you are wanting a reminder that you are going to be posting about your upcoming webinar and you want to put that together 3 days beforehand, pop it in, set a reminder, and you have flexibility with that reminder. You can be reminded 10 minutes before, the day before, 3 days before. So, you decide what works for you. And as I said, starting with the free version. So this is switching your view on Trello to a calendar view, and you can then plan out and decide what you're doing. It's a power up that you add to the Trello board. But as I say, having a project management tool, whether you're a team or it's just you, can help to streamline and get everything in place and just free up some time for you. So now let's move on to posting. And just remember that when you're posting, handcraft it for yourself, handcraft it for you. Use your voice, your style, not somebody else's. We get inspiration from seeing what other people post. And I know that everybody can repurpose or reuse, give credit when you do that if you're using somebody else's content, but use your unique communication style. I think that it's critical to show you, because once again, that is your audience, your community. That's why you're putting out content, is to build that connection and for them to decide if working with you is what they want to do. have a call to action. And I know that I'm skipping through the slides a little bit when we're talking about, I'll come back to that. So let's talk about how often. And each platform is different to how often you show up. But I think being consistent and interacting and having conversations, less is more. So just make sure that if you can follow through on where you're showing up, to choose that frequency. You're going to get a lot of guidance and a lot of guidelines, and people are going to tell you, post on Twitter daily, post on Instagram 3 times a week. I know that LinkedIn takes longer for your posts to show up, and they live longer. So that is the beauty of LinkedIn. And I feel that one almost can't post immediately and expect a reaction. So if you are planning something in the future, post about it a week ahead on LinkedIn to give it some traction. Keeping track, you could use the Google Sheet, as I mentioned. I use Airtable. And then coming back to your posting in the 3 buckets. So the inspiration, the education, and the promoting. So yes, we want to promote. We are here to do business and to tell people what we do. If they don't know what we do, they don't know how to do business with us. But we also want to offer value. And we can offer value by educating and inspiring. And then the call to action. So they don't always have to be a direct sign up to your newsletter. You certainly can look at using that. But they could be something as simple as come and say hello on your platform that you like to hang out on. Follow me on, or join my group. I have a group on LinkedIn. So if you are a woman business entrepreneur and would like to connect with the group, I think we're almost at 300 now, women from around the globe. And the sole purpose is to collaborate and build community. We have coaches, we have VAs, we have copywriters, photographers. And it's just wonderful. If you're looking for somebody in one of those fields, you can put out a post and ask. I had a lady the other day she wanted to buy a new computer and wondered what was the best one to replace. And she got a little bit of feedback to let her know. It's a place for you to come and share. If you have a webinar or you have something that you're teaching about, I'd love for you to come and join me. So just connect with me on LinkedIn. It's Carol Clegg, and I can send me a message and I can send you the link to the group. So moving on to engagement. This is so important. We don't show up or post on social without setting aside some time to show up, to engage. So my recommendation is to spend at least 15 minutes a day. You set that aside, block it in your calendar, and decide that you are going to go into the platforms that you post on. So for me at the moment, LinkedIn and Instagram would be my 2 that I'm showing up on, and then Clubhouse. And so interacting and Clubhouse, it's different being audio, but having to show up and support people in their rooms, getting up on stage. But spending 15 minutes engaging. And that is not just a like on LinkedIn or a like or a heart on Instagram, nor is it just one word. It doesn't start the conversation. So that's what we're trying to do, is have a conversation with people that are in our audience. As I said earlier, numbers are not that matters. It's building and connecting with your community and being authentic and knowing if they are the people that want to connect with you and do business with you, because that is what we do, right? People do business with people. So going over the engagement strategy, you've got LinkedIn comments, you've got DMing people in Clubhouse, on the back channel, you have Twitter lists. So having lists helps you do a quick overview of who you connected with in what category, resharing their posts. On Instagram, adding at least a sentence and perhaps a question to keep the conversation going. And then if you are in groups, to share value. So sharing value in your Facebook groups, getting people to know, like, and trust you again, sharing value in your LinkedIn groups. LinkedIn groups are a little more challenging than a Facebook group, but worth the effort. So I am just about to stop sharing my slides. I wanted to leave you with some action steps So setting aside one day to plan, deciding on which platforms you want to show up consistently and have the time and enjoy. They need to be platforms that you also enjoy, where you're getting action. Decide on a scheduling tool, decide on a planning tool, and then look at creating your content in bulk. So setting aside images, you're doing images today. I'm doing copy now. I'm pulling those all together when you're in the flow, and then spending 15 minutes engaging on the different platforms. And I know that we are coming close to, I am actually managing to fit this in 30 minutes. So I would love to connect with you if you are watching the replay. And thank you for those that are joining me in the room. And thank you for those that are watching live on YouTube. So you can connect with me by booking a free 30-minute discovery call. And you'll find how to do that at carolclegg.com. Just scroll down to the very bottom of my page and you'll be able to book a free call with me. Do connect with me on LinkedIn. It's LinkedIn Carol Clegg, and I do offer one-on-one tailor-made coaching programs. So I do have a one session, 90 minutes strategy session where you take away 3 action plans, or we have other packages available. So I wanted to stop that share and just wrap up, because here we are with a few minutes to go. I know that I wanted to share very briefly with you. Let me just see if I can still do that and find the old reader, just to give you an idea of how I use this to create content, to find content, to find articles of interest. But do remember that the customer journey takes months. And so spend time listening to what the next steps are that your customer needs, what their journey is, and what is the end result that they are searching for. Keep this in mind as you create your content. And on your call to action, I just want to encourage you to make that as simple as possible, to follow through on your invitation. So with each step, showing up consistently, you are helping your community feel confident in your offers. So I had wanted, just before we wrap up, to quickly share this last resource that I use. So let's see if this is going to work. And I think that it is showing you my screen with the old reader. And so what you do in the old reader, and this is the free option, is you subscribe to different blog posts. And because my clients are travel, one of my clients is business related in that they are a recruitment agency. And then down at the bottom, I have got marketing updates. And these are blog posts I follow to help keep me on top of marketing. And what happens is when you, for instance, if I just go to the travel session, I can skim through these articles. And if I click on one of them, and this is what I want to share, I'm able to click on that. It'll show me the article. I can then click on the topic and it will take me directly to the article. Now, if I had wanted to share this is my buffer extension up at the top over here. I just click on the share with buffer and it'll pull up my buffer account if I am logged in. I'm not sure. Yes, I am. So this will show you, and then I can pick the channels. So if I was just going to share that on my Twitter account, I'm able to do that. It pulls out the article. I do need to add one of the images that I want to share, and then I can add it to the queue, or I can share now, share next, or schedule the post. So that is just a very brief overview on how to use not only the old reader for articles, but then to move what you are getting from that resource into using buffer and into scheduling posts. So I hope that you've enjoyed this webinar. Thank you for watching. I will be back in February with my next webinar. Haven't decided the topic yet, but I will post that on LinkedIn And if you're not part of my email list, I invite you to join me and I will keep you posted. So have a beautiful week and thank you for being here.